peculiar. The bar is very quiet. There are people in the booths and people talking, but no ranchera. There's a jukebox. It's quiet. They're kind of different. In the bar over there, at the end of the bar, there was Roberto Munoz, 2 young women with him. They're talking. Huh?
We can't hear you.
Okay.
You can
I'm in the bar. So there. So the bar was a very it was interesting in that way. It wasn't your typical ranchera playing, people yelling, whatever. Ruben goes to the restroom, comes back right there. Let's say this is the end, right there. And almost immediately, at that point, it's the Garcia and Franco, the 2 Colombian friends of Guillermo, are coming back from their phone call that they made right there where I was at buying the hamburger. And they almost, right there at the entrance, are met by the deputies that had marched to the Silver Dollar. Supposedly, man with a gun entered the Silver Dollar. They're going to go get this man with a gun with the Silver Dollar. A whole column of about 10 armed deputies. I was right across the street. I remember telling Joe, you know what? Something's coming down. When these cops take their side weapons out of their gun, they're going to use it. And that's when I started using my camera. I said, something is going to happen. And I had no idea why they were coming to the Silver Dollar. Right at the entrance of the Silver Dollar, there were 3 young men. Nicholas Kremenko, Tony Sanchez, Franco and Garcia. They're the ones in the picture right there that are congregated right there. Grasser comes with a shotgun and he's pointing at them and telling them, go back inside the Silver Dollar, go back, go back. Now, that doesn't make any sense. Now, I was across the street. He was yelling, go back, go back. When I interviewed Nicholas and Garcia and whatever, he said, why did you go back in? Why did you? The man has a gun in your face. You're not going to argue with him. He was angry. We didn't know what the hell was going on. So we backed off. They back off. That lady, Jun Sil-ri, that's a Korean lady. She's the owner of another little shop. She gets toda escamada, what's going on? And then the Grasher turns around and tells her, lady, get out of here, or whatever. And then she runs into the bar. But she knew the bar. She runs in, looks around, and then boom, shoots out the back. The most intelligent thing you could have done. She immediately got out of the bar. Garcia, Franco, Jimmy, Nicholas, everybody stays there at the front, and Ruben and Guillermo are right there. And that's when things begin. Almost immediately, things begin to happen. Now, allegedly, people started firing, the cops. Thomas Wilson, who's not there at that time, is going to come by the entrance, squat, shoot, and into the bar. Now the bar has an entryway of about 3 feet. The entrance, the door, and then you walk in about 3 feet. You get on a little, sort of like a little enclosed entryway, and then a curtain, and then the bar. And where all the deputies were coming, right there at the entrance. Now, if there's a man with a gun, he could easily kill anyone with cops. I mean, not the most intelligent would be hanging out at the entryway, supposedly. But at the same time, they were going to get this man with a gun inside the bar by forcing the people back into the bar. Later on, I remember in the inquest testimony, my thing was, if there was a man with a gun, if there was a man, you have these 4 men already, pull them out, search them. At least you'll know that these men don't have guns. These men don't. But instead, you push them back in, and the moment they push back in, believe me, it was no more than about 20, 30 seconds, boom, they start firing. I was thinking, oh my God, there's full of people in there. Somebody's going to get hit. And they started firing. They gave no warning. They didn't say, come out with your hands up, which is what their argument was. Come out with your hands up, nobody comes out, and so therefore, I'm going to shoot. When the policeman says, come out, and you do not come out, it's a barricade situation. The argument was, the Silver Dollar was a barricaded situation. We issued the warning, they didn't come out, and there was a curtain. The curtain was the barricade. And they had to verify that it was a barricaded situation because that weapon cannot be used other than in barricaded situations. So what was the barricade? Not some big wall, not some iron. 2 frayed yellow curtains in front that you part when going to the bar. And their argument was, we believe that this is a barricade, and so therefore they have a right to shoot. And remember, tear gas can be dispelled in various different ways. Dusters that can be thrown by the hand, or they can be put on a rifle at a distance. It don't do very much. Tumblers, and that very deadly projectile. That, believe me, it's a cannon. The gun is described oftentimes as a cannon, and the shell is a huge shell, as you're going to see. Ruben is, I believe, and I'll read it to you, but I believe the very first thing that came in was a duster. They threw a thing, and that rolled almost right in front of Ruben and Guillermo, and they look at it. Remember, it's on a timer, and they're looking at it, and you know, it's a little bit of time to react, and it explodes, and then the gas starts coming out. And then you have seconds. I don't know if you've ever been affected by CN or CS gas. Before it really attacks your pores and your eyes and that began to cause people, because Ruben was there, but so was Jimmy, and so was all these other people around there. And the gas starts coming out, and then all the people with the gas coming out, and you keep hearing thunderous firing. Some firing is going on, like shotguns are being shot in there, and people are hearing it, and people see Ruben falling. People hear Ruben say, "Why? What have we done? ¿Qué estamos haciendo? No hemos hecho nada. We're not doing anything." And these are almost some of these last words. And then people see Ruben fall, and they try to help, but they can't because the gas is too intense. Remember, if there had not been a back door, if there was no other way to get out and they were afraid to go out the front door, all of those people would have died of asphyxiation. CN and CS gas is very deadly. It would take about 3 or 4 minutes before you would die. In an enclosed area, you will die. It's been banned internationally. It's been used in East LA. CN gas, it was a miracle that there was a back door. Everybody started running out the back door, crawling out the back door. The only one that couldn't was Ruben. Supposedly shot with this tear gas projectile. The fact of the matter, he did fall, he did die, but what happened? I don't believe he was shot with a tear gas projectile. I believe Ruben could have been shot with a gun, false, could have been hit with some of these tear gas projectiles. They shoot out a cork, and that cork doesn't do very much, but it and then the shell comes out. But that cork can hit you, it can knock you out. It might have been hit, maybe stunned, falls, and then dies of that gas. But it's very confusing because I've researched all the medical records, and there are more questions in the autopsy than answers. Ruben is described as a man with brown hair. Brown hair. Ruben didn't have brown hair. Ruben's eyebrows were described as brown, with brown eyes. When I was reading that, even at the very beginning, because I did a lot of research, I went to the coroner's office and I said, I want to see the record of the autopsy of Ruben Salazar. Well, you know, fine, but you can't go out, you can't take him out. So I hung out for almost an entire summer, hour after hour, looking at what then was the inquest and also the coroner's autopsy report. There were never any photography. And I said, I'm not reading an autopsy of Ruben. This is not Ruben. There's something going on here. And it wasn't until the good fortune of having these records that are now here at this archive, the Sheriff's Department's records, photographs of what happened there. As a matter of fact, I never really wanted to come out until I had some experience with. I had gone to I was given access to over there at the sheriff's, and they gave me 4 hours and they put all the records there. Impossible, couldn't really do it. One thing I wanted to do, I wanted to see the photography. I knew there were photos at the Silver Dollar, and I knew there were autopsy reports. I wanted to see the autopsy report. I wanted to, because my thing was, I just don't believe what I read in the autopsy. And I saw the autopsy reports. And very, very extraordinary. I don't believe that was Ruben in the autopsy. You know, I don't know. When I see autopsy reports that I'm seeing some autopsy report that other people, when I talk to the daughters, I say, look, it's very hard for me to talk about this because of your dad. And I don't want to, you know, but I'm really concerned about what I think is a huge conspiracy of some magnitude that I can't totally figure it out. But I know Ruben, and I know the way this man looked, and what I saw, the dead man there, was not Ruben. The nature of the hair, the way the eyebrows, so you know, some hair is long and then curls like that. Some guys wear it like that, longish hair. Ruben didn't have that. It was a very traditional Mexican barber look, you know. The nature of the entradas here of Ruben, the texture of his hair, he had wavy hair. What I saw was, well, not Ruben. And that has always troubled me because other people don't seem to make any reaction to it, but I do, and I'm still looking at what I think. You see, the autopsy was done the following day. The autopsy was done around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But Ruben, and it's right there, his head is shaved at 11 o'clock. Wow, okay. So, normal and natural. You have this massive wound on your head. The autopsy, they're going to shave your head. But in the autopsy, they're describing his hair. What in the world is going on? They described his hair. My thing wasn't, I remember with this friend of mine, I said, wow, his hair is brown. I said, yeah, but you know what? He's supposed to have any hair. So those are issues. The other issue was Ruben's body had no blood. When the autopsy report, the examiner mentioned the body has no blood. He bled out. Okay, I can believe that. I mean, huge, massive wound. Except what? If your body bleeds out, what is the situation there with your body? What is going on with your body? If your body is bleeding out, what happens? Why is it your body bleeds out?
Your heart's beating.
That's right. Your heart is beating. You're not dead. Now, you may be dying, you may be brain dead, but your heart is beating. And so the blood is coming out. And if it continues to beat, you could bleed out significantly. Okay. Can't have it both ways. There's no blood in the body. He bled out. Therefore, he was not killed instantly. Katsuyama, the autopsy surgeon, said Ruben was hit with a tear gas protection and death was instantaneous. Yeah, I can believe that. Got a thing through the head. But he had no blood. My thing was that he was hit in the head with this workshop. Boom, the man falls dead. What happens if you're killed instantly and your heart stops? What happens to your blood? The blood begins to fall into the body cavities of the stomach where the body lays. If it falls a certain way, the gravity begins to pull the blood down. There was no blood in the body. So he must have bled out. But if he bled out, that means also what? What else can you examine? If the body is, the heart is still breathing, then what is also alive? The lungs. Ruben was taking in all that gas. Well, he's dying, his blood is in, he's taking all this gas and he's burning and he's dying and he's asphyxiating and he's corrupting his lungs, his thorax. And an autopsy will find that out. What does it say about his lungs? Grossly normal. The description of everything that's okay. What the hell did that happen? the heart beats, therefore he's taking in air. That air is full of gas and it's burning his lungs. They examine his lungs and the lungs are grossly normal. The brain is examined and it's weighed. I believe it's something like about 300 centigrade, something like that. The normal weight of an adult male is around 300. What do they call it? 300 grams, whatever. Yeah. The same. Ruben's brain weighed in death in the autopsy table the same as a normal male brain. But he had a shell that destroyed it, that must have taken out brain matter. You can't have this whole thing, and yet when they weighed it, his brain weighed exactly the same as when he was alive. Can't do it. Another thing, when they examined the brain is the so-called channel. The shell, when it comes out, is coming out at around 300 degrees Fahrenheit. It's coming out white hot. It'll burn. It'll burn right there. It's hotter than boiling water. It goes through his brain. There's going to be some searing of the brain, of the flesh. No searing of the brain. No burning. A lot of things. The fact of the matter is that my reading of the thing, I'm not a doctor, and I've looked at it and I'm talking to some of my friends who are doctors, and this is very confusing because we don't understand this. But the fact of the matter is the official story is not real. There's a lot, I think, that is still yet to come out. Let me just read to you, I took a little bit too long, but let me just read to you my narrative of what happened to Ruben inside the silver dollar. Everything, all the commentary, all the comments that people make are actual testimony, but I put it into a narrative format. And this is what I say. Well, let me say, you bear with me. How much time do we have before they throw me out here? On a hot Sunday afternoon, August 29, 1970, award-winning Los Angeles Times columnist and KMEX Channel 4 news director Ruben Salazar was killed in the Silver Dollar Cafe in East Los Angeles. The following day, in a front-page headline piece, Los Angeles Times reporter Charles Powers and Jeff Pearlman wrote, deputies found him sprawled on the floor with a bullet wound in his head. Very first reports, Ruben was killed with a bullet. That specific, mind you. Contradictory reports given by the slaying of columnist Salazar that Ruben was found inside the Silver Dollar Cafe with a bullet wound in his head. Deputies, though, claimed that they had only fired tear gas, but no bullets, into the restaurant where he had been killed. In a follow-up story, Richard Vasquez, changed the cause of death to a bullet-like tear gas shell fired by a sheriff's deputy. The official spokesman of the Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Hamilton, claimed in a Herald Examiner story by Al Bine and William Bell that Ruben had been shot to death. And the shooting of Salazar came during the height of a sweep of more than 7,000 people in the park when police ordered everyone to disperse. In the Spanish language newspaper of L'Opinión, Antonio Méndez reported that uno de los hombres muertos fue encontrado tirado bajo un asiento en el bar y se cree que fue alcanzado por la bala de un francotirador. And in fact, they found him sprawling and was probably shot by a sniper. According to the short press release issued jointly by County Coroner Thomas Noguchi and County Sheriff and the County Sheriff's Department, Ruben, quote, died almost instantly from a through-and-through projectile wound of the left temple area, causing massive injury to the brain. The projectile, 10 inches long. I don't know how to operate this thing, otherwise I would do it.
You just push the space bar.
Where's the
the space bar of the typer, I'll show you myself. There you go.
Oh, by the way, this is a stamp that came out. A lot of us were very happy. Ooh, Ruben got a stamp. Do you see anything weird about that stuff?
He died 2 hours later.
So it's during Chicano protest rally.
Do you see anything weird about that stamp? It should never have been accepted. Chicano were so, whoa, we want our stamp around. This has a major flaw in it because they edited. They did not want to say what. Look at the writing on that. What does it say? What the hell does that mean?
He wasn't in the rally. He wasn't in the rally.
It's not during. There is nothing there during Chicano protest rally. What is that? Doesn't make any sense. What it was, killed during a Chicano, but they didn't want to have the killed on it. So this official U.S. stamp was misedited and edited out because they didn't even, my thing was at the time, you don't want to put kill, take the damn phrase out because it doesn't make any sense. But you know what? Nobody noticed that. I don't know what the hell, why not? This phrase that makes no sense the way it is. You know, when I was in Arizona, and those people, oh, they had a big fiesta, and they had the LA Times, and everybody got together, and I was saying, you people don't see anything wrong with that? Am I the only one here that thinks we should edit the writing here? Anyway, I brought that out once again because of the issue there. You really can't tell very much on there. These are official. These are records from the office of that the center has here. But now we have to I don't know. It really is the other way. Supposedly this is the march, and each red dot, according to the sheriffs, are incidents of violence. That's not true. Well, not incidents of violence among them. There might have been, whatever. It's a massive march over 20,000, but the sheriffs are saying, look at all these violent acts that are going on along the march. Yeah, I guess in a way. This is Ruben's birth certificate. I really went out and tried to get all the records. This is my daughter, by the way. Marcia was never a very good protester. She was always smiling. I used to tell her, frown, Marcella, frown. And she was, I was like this picture, kind of iconic. The headband. Hilda, I don't know why this film keeps moving around. And the girls with the bell bottoms. The protests. The females were always the most, really, always very expressive. The young brown berets. This old couple there. I always thought it was great. Viva la Causa right in the background. The march on Atlantic. More marchers. In a minute you'll see, by the way, like I said, I'm not a photographer, but I was always an activist with a camera. And a lot of the photography is not the best, technically speaking, but you have to understand too that sometimes there's a riot going on, people are getting killed, and half the time you can't even hold the camera out because you don't know what's going to happen to you. The moment you put a camera to your face, you no longer know what's going on around you. Can't, so you're very vulnerable. And people run around and hit each other on the head. This is the route. This is the route that's in the records that the center now has from the sheriff's department. This is where it says sitting in a certain marcher with a gun. That's crazy stuff, This whole business, men with guns. I mean, there were about 50 reports, men with guns. Deputies see a car stop and a whole bunch of Chicanos run and grab rifles. And then, I mean, bushels of guns everywhere. No guns. The only two guns that were found, Daniel Rivera's gun, which he himself said, I'm an owner, I have registered, I have a license. Peter Hernandez, a shotgun, and one other gun, supposedly, Gonzalez from Colorado, supposedly when he was arrested, they found a gun in the truck. But that there were guns, never. The guns were in the hands of the deputies.
Yes.
They had guns, M16s, extraordinary weaponry that they had at the time. Now, it's a little bit out of order, but this is a shot from the police helicopter. This is the Silver Dollar Cafe. I can't point.
You have to use the screen.
Right there is the Silver Dollar Cafe, and this is Laverne. This is Laverne. This is the JS hamburger stand, and this is from the top. It's not the way it looks now, but that's a very curious intersection. It's not a curious intersection. It's supposed to be an S thing there. I was right across the street by this light standard right there.
We can't see you. Use the screen. Put your finger. Just walk up to the
But if I do that, and there they are, you can
Take the mic off.
All right. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? All right. I was right here.
There
I was
you
right
go.
here.
Thank you.
And eventually you'll see the photography with the car. You see that photograph there of the policeman right there fired into the bar, into the Silver Dollar? They're firing it from right here. And when things started happening, I started seeing the sheriff coming down to the Silver Dollar, and then they, that's when I started shooting photographs. And then they shot in here, and then Lieutenant Laughlin comes by and goes into the bar or checks the bar, and then comes by, makes a U-turn, parks his car right next to me, and shot 3 more times. And people were making fun of him because one of them hit this outside and go ahead and shoot. There's only Mexicans in the bar. People started saying that, and I went around and shot in from behind to show that what was going on. After 3 shells were fired into the bar, then he picked out the speaker in the car and said, "All right, you in there, come out." And only then. But the whole argument was, the fact of the matter, there were 2 events at the Silver Dollar. 3 projectiles, 3 or 4 are shot right here in front, right at the doorway. But that wasn't the only event. Then about 10 minutes later, Laughlin comes by, examines what goes in. I have no idea what he was doing. Then he comes out, shoots again into the bar, shoots 3 more shells into the bar. Deputy Sparks kneels down right here next to the light standard, takes out his .38, and begins actually firing into the bar with a .38. Who is he shooting at? Mind you, all during this time, nobody has gone into the bar, nobody has come out of the bar. But people are inside the bar. And they're shooting and shooting and shooting into the bar. And all during this time, I was saying to myself, ojalá que no salgan. Because these people are determined to kill who's ever inside that bar. I mean, it was irrational what was going on in terms of the bar. And supposedly, we had a right to do what we did because the man with a gun, and he would not come out. They gave no warning. They went in there and they shot up, and ultimately a man was killed. Ruben was killed in the aftermath of the largest and most violent confrontation between the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and the Chicano community of East LA. 3 days later, on September the 1st, Gilbert Diaz, aka Ernesto Lara, died as a result of a bullet wound fired by deputies as he allegedly ran a barricade and crashed into a utility pole. No, that didn't happen. I mean, he was killed. He was killed in his car, but he was not the driver. Something happened to Gilbert Diaz, but he was not that he ran and tried to run over the police as they claim. We're there at the street, and this crazy Mexican comes by, and so we had to shoot him. No, the death scene is the car hit the standard, and then there's a bullet wound from the back of the back seat, from the back window, into the front passenger, and the blood is there. And that's where Uncle dies. Lynn and Cecil Ward died 11 days later at County USC Hospital from Woodland, supposedly from a mangled right leg, later amputated when hurled by explosion through a plate glass window. Not true. Deputies claimed that Lynn was standing next to a burning trash bin when unknown persons tossed an explosive into it, setting off a blast that hurled the boy 38 feet away. No, nothing like that happened. An autopsy later revealed that Lynn had actually died as a result of an explosion caused by a tear gas canister fired by deputies
pointer?
Found one in my
That's
cochinero.
even better. August 29th was not an ordinary day in East LA. It was the day of the largest demonstration ever held against the war in Vietnam in the city. Remember, anti-war protests were being held primarily by the majority population. It really was not necessarily an ethnic. You really didn't see that many protests carried out by, for example, the most active of the community, the African American community. It really was more the mainstream population protesting the war, except in LA. Except for the good work of folks like Rosalio, who were protesting that war in Vietnam, which was an illegal, aggressive war against innocent people in Vietnam, and the death of over 1 million of these good folks there, simply because of the politica. I mean, I don't want to get into that, all this stuff, but we had no business being there. Just as the French had no business being there for those 80 years that they were there. They were made to feel Rosalio Munoz, co-chair of the Chicano Movement Committee and former student body president at UCLA, said that Chicanos and other racial minorities were being funneled militarily into the service by social and economic pressures. They're made to feel that they have a special burden to prove their loyalty to the U.S. or because they do not have money or facilities to resist induction, which is true. You know, a lot of times the military becomes the refuge of last resort, or sometimes the first option for a lot of minority folks. I grew up in a family culture where our men went to war. That's what it was, you know. And it was always very hard to protest the war, knowing that a lot of your family was military, you know, but that's just the way it was. Edward Roybal, the only Chicano congressman from California, congratulated the organizers of the moratorium and said the participants offer a constructive and nonviolent approach to halting the tragic direction of war. Ruben and his crew from KMEN was there to cover the event. The staging area for the events was the Belvedere Park, ironically right next to the UCLA Sheriff Station. At approximately between 10 and 11 a.m., the people began marching out of the park. The mood of the people was quite festive. They marched down Atlantic, down to Whittier. They turned right. They passed right in front of the Silver Dollar Cafe. As soon as they passed the Silver Dollar Cafe, it was open, and there, in the entrance of the word was Amanda, was Munoz, and they waved. It was very festive, and they move on to Laguna Park. Within an hour and a half, the bulk of the march gets to Laguna Park, and then the battle takes place. I'm not going to read all of that, but it was a hard, you know, it was a wow. You know, they even chased out the deputies around the park one time, but they just had too much firepower. They came back, and ultimately they took control of the park. So I'll go from the park. Anger, and people pushed trash bins into the boulevard, start burning the bins. A lot of crazy stuff started happening. And Ruben was there, and Chapo and his crew, and they were filming, and I was taking pictures all during this time. You know, kids are getting beaten up, girls are getting pulled down by the hair. I mean, men were being rat packed. You know what a rat pack is? You don't arrest a man. You jump and 4 or 5 police, and you sit there and you know, this is not an arrest. This is nothing but stomping. That's what it is. After the sheriff's deputies at the Laguna Park, people dispersed out of the park. Some go into the neighborhood. Houses were broken in by the sheriff looking for protesters. Some, including Ruben and his crew, decided to drive. I went down the boulevard. Ruben went down. Why? What was it? We had to get back to our cars. That's what we're doing. That's the reason for going back. And we couldn't drive our cars because there was all sorts of barricades in there, so we were walking. And unfortunately, like I said, Ruben was only about a minute or two ahead of myself. They go into the bar. I don't drink, so when they go in the bar, I go get a soda, and myself and Joan, we're sitting right there across the bar before anything happens. Then all of a sudden, people start converging on the bar, and that's when. Let me just read that part to you. After the sheriff's deputy riot at Laguna Park, people dispersed out of the park into their surrounding neighborhoods. Some, including Ruben and his crew, decided to drive and walk back to the area around Belvedere to get their cars. After walking through the fires and diluting along the boulevard, they reached the Silver Dollar Cafe around 5 o'clock, or approximately 2.5 hours after the so-called riot at Laguna had started. They had already completed most of the documentation of the events of the park and on the boulevard, and had gone into the restaurant to get away from the turmoil of the street and to simply rest and get something to drink and eat. The cafe, approximately 1.5 miles from the park, was in the periphery of the riot-torn section of the boulevard. Ruben never left the Silver Dollar. Shortly after he and his crew entered, Deputy Thomas Wilson of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department and several others, without warning, fired tear gas projectiles into the restaurant. Apparently, there had not been any opportunity to take cover. Ruben, according to the coroner, was shot by either the first shell or the second, and was probably dead before he hit the floor. But he bled out. How do you figure that one out, right? For the next 2 hours, his body lay alone on the floor of the tear gas-filled restaurant. The others had been able to crawl out the back door. Now, mind you, it's so incredible. That's the bar. Literally, this is the bar. The bar is right there. The entrance is here. Ruben's body was right there. You could have taken, walked twice, boom, grab his leg, pull him out. Nobody ever did that. Ruben's bar, the bar is a small bar. He could have been dragged out. He was right at the door. If you open the curtain, there he is. Now the way the people were trying to do it later, and I have one witness, an extraordinary witness, Julian Garcia. He goes into the back. Julian lived in the neighborhood. He was wondering, what the hell, how come they're shooting into my bar? So after all the shooting, he decides to go into the bar. And he can't go in, so he puts a handkerchief, wet handkerchief on his face, crawls on the bottom, clear, and he walks from the back door, and he sees Ruben. You see, he testifies to that. Right there. And what does he say? Ruben is lying there. I thought he was asleep. I didn't see a wound. I didn't see blood. As a matter of fact, I said, hey brother, come on, get up. Come on, wake up. He's trying to get him to go into sleep or something. And then he reaches down and touches him and realizes that he's dead. Remember, everybody now is out. This is Julian Garcia. Se escama. This is, you know, he said, I had never seen a dead man this close, much less talk to one. I was talking to Ruben, you know, and he was dead already. And then he tried to get him. He said, you know, that deadly gas. I'm glad that he said, I couldn't do it, I couldn't do it, I couldn't do it. And the tears are coming down. And then he said, you know what? Se levantó, and then boom, he just runs out of the bar. He, not even crawling. He had to get out, or he said, I was going to die. You know, it was so intense, the smell of the gas. For the next two bodies, his body laid alone on the floor of the tear gas-filled restaurants. The other had been able to crawl out the back door. KMX informed the sheriffs that Ruben had been killed. They didn't bother to investigate. In death, Ruben became much bigger than ever he was in life. Parks, schools, buildings, streets, points, corridos, battles, and countless of babies have been named after him. You know, the death has caused so much reaction from within and outside the Chicano community. He's become one of the few genuine heroes and legends of the Chicano community, a martyr of el movimiento, the movement, and yet most of us still do not know why he was killed and how. The official version of his death never rang true to me, who knew Ruben and was there on that fateful afternoon of August 29, 1970. On September 3rd, over 700 people passed the open gray casket in the Pacific View Memorial Park Chapel in Newport Beach to pay their respects to Ruben and his family. Otis Chandler, publisher of the Times, eulogized Ruben as a fighter for the idea that all men could live peacefully. He had been, and he talks about him. Remember, the LA Times never did anything for Ruben. The LA Times never did anything for our community. And they hired Ruben, and they never did, they killed their man. They killed. I've been in Central America when it was the election over there, the Delitas in '94. I was there, and I could see the LA Times had power, and I mean they had a crew of about 100 people with cameras, and they had more power and influence than the whole government of Nicaragua. And they couldn't investigate the death of one of their people in East LA. If the LA Times had wanted to, they had the means, the reserves, the budget, everything. They never bothered. They never bothered. They didn't care. They didn't care. It was all bogus. It was all it's just another Mexican, and you know, it's a shame. And you know what? KMEX never did anything either. We went, myself and Joe Dawson, we took the photos that about 2 days later, before anybody knew that we had the photos. We went to Daniel Villanueva with the gentleman Daniel. He had the photos. This is your man. Your news director was killed. Publicize them, bring them out, show them. You don't have to editorialize it, show them. He refused. He refused. He said, nah, I'm not going to show them. I said, Ruben, he was your man. He was there. He was killed. Just show them. No, won't do it. I couldn't believe it. I said, well. As a matter of fact, he suggested there was some guy there from the Scandal newspaper, the Llegas Encuerados or something. Why don't you give it to them? I said, no, I'm not going to give it to them. You know, you don't want to do it, fine, you know, but I'm never going to forget this. You know, you're a hypocrite. Later on, this hypocrite at the funeral or at the wake in Newport Beach, he threw himself on Ruben's body, trying to show how he was anguished. But he couldn't do one thing, you know, and that was to show images of Ruben. It would not have done anything to him, but that didn't happen. Later on, we showed him to Tom Brokaw. Tom Brokaw was just starting out in Channel 4 here in local. He came to UCLA, he came to the office, La Raza, he said, Tom, these are some of the photos. Can you show them on TV? Yes, I can. And he went back and he said, call me tomorrow. We called him. Can't do it. I can't show them. I said, okay, fine. So whatever. So I remember saying, hey, let's just show them ourselves. We'll make an appointment at the press club and invite everybody, and anybody can come. And that's when the LA Times showed up, and they looked, and they looked, and they sat there, and they looked. At the end of the press conference, the city editor came by and said, Raúl, you come with me now. Now. Come with me. You go to the LA Times. I will publish your photographs. I will publish your stories, you and Joe's stories. And we'll do it on the front page. We won't edit it. We won't touch it, and we'll do it. September 4, LA Times, the whole front page, the photographs. The second page, the photographs, the stories, unedited. The LA Times never have done that before. I don't think they've ever done it, but they did that. I have to say that much. But that's it. That was all they did. Let me just get to the scene inside the bar from the testimony of, I don't want to, I call this Ruben's story and it's a little bit subjective. I get into the mind of Ruben, and maybe that's wrong, I don't know. And I'll just pick up here at the walking of the boulevard. As they walked, they witnessed the burning and looting that consumed much of the boulevard and only stopped when they reached Sawyer and Laverne, where the Silver Dollar Cafe was located. Every so often, as they walked, Ruben looked behind him and appeared to be concerned about something. The time was now about 5 in the afternoon. The Silver Dollar, a small, nondescript bar approximately 48 feet by 60 in length, was situated at the halfway point between two parks, Belvedere, where the march started, and Laguna, where it ended. The door was usually open during the operating hours, but you had to enter a small 3-foot entryway that was covered by 2 frayed and dirty yellow curtains to actually enter the cafe. A soiled and tattered red canopy stretched from the entrance of the cafe. This is the cafe. This is the canopy. And you see some better pictures when you see the sheriffs. These are the people congregating before they shut into the bar. This is the sheriffs that came out of the files that are now here at the center. This is the way it actually looks. So it's a really important shot that for the first time we are able to see. They sold wigs at the bar.
That's funny.
Actually, they were just paying them. The wig shop was paying them to put the sign up there. And that's the way it looked. Now, this is, you know, I was really surprised. This is what I found in your file, Sean. There's Thomas Wilson reenacting the scene. That's Thomas Wilson. By the way, something happens to Thomas. He continues to be a sheriff for about another year, but then he leaves, becomes an alcoholic, gets divorced. I had an opportunity to talk to his son, and he said, you know, my dad was never the same. Something happened to him. We don't understand what happened, because he was always, you know, he was never a mean guy. We don't understand why he was involved with this whole thing with Ruben, but there was nothing. Something happened to him. At any rate, that's Thomas. They're reenacting the scene. Supposedly that's the way he's shooting into the bar. More shooting scene. Whatever.
The sheriffs took
Huh?
The sheriffs took these.
These are sheriffs. These are all from the sheriff's files that are now open to the public, and you're open to see them now here at the center. And we owe the center here the opportunity to have them. I was looking at them. I had never seen them, you know. I said, oh my God, that's Thomas. By the way, Thomas always claimed, oh, I know the bar from the inside because I used to hang out at the bar. No, Thomas, you were never in East LA. You were not in the bar, so don't lie to your head about it, you know. Anyway, he was Montrose. There he is, the whole thing. But actually, this is not totally true because ya perdí la little clicker.
Pointer?
Yeah, did I steal it?
I steal it.
I don't know what happened. Anyway.
How many old men does it take to fight?
How do you work this thing?
I don't know. Maybe my grandson.
Está muy complicada la cosa esta. You got it going.
They didn't have these. They didn't have these 40 years ago, did they?
Actually, that's not totally true. He is more inside there. You see, it goes in another 3 feet. And then he comes back and from the street and shoots some more. The door was usually open during open, but you had to enter the small entryway. The doorway was framed by 2 large half-moon windows, 2 small neon signs in the middle that flashed Bergie on draft, and both were painted over with the name of the bar emblazoned on them with large white stylized writing. The white outline figures of 2 large sitting female nudes on black quadrangle backgrounds were painted on the walls above the window. The Silver Dollars and Acres were Stone Brother Furniture store and Laverne Wigs and the Mayo Bridal Shop. West of the bar, across the street, the Hollywood Discount Record Shop. The Hollywood Discount Record Shop is an extraordinary place. Why? I really think something happened there. What happened was, because they were the only ones that testified and saying men with guns went into the Silver Dollar. I said, wow, you know, what the hell? During the time that this was going on, the people at the record shop were emptying out the record shop, and they had a bunch of guys, I guess the workers there, and they were all standing in front of the bar, you know, locked him on, and they had guns, they had rifles, and they had clubs, because, you know, it's supposedly looting. And I he said, well, okay, and the sheriffs were there. I guess they figured, well, these are the owners, and they have a right. But Lopez, that so-called crazy Mexican in the middle of the street who alleges men with guns, this crazy guy's in the middle of the street with, and I don't know if we'll see him, but he's sitting there, and he's saying, men with guns, men with guns. But I really think that maybe he did see, and he probably saw the guys at the record shop who had guns. There was one guy there, Tony was part of that group that later went into, he was there, and during that time he walked back to the front of the bar. Maybe in his crazy mind, he thinks that Tony is one of the guys that has weapons, and he goes into, of course, Tony then later goes into the bar. But nobody had any guns inside the bar. But you're trying to wonder why it is that this gentleman, Lopez is a Mexican guy who's saying he went to court saying, men with a gun. I interviewed him. I said, when did you see a man with a gun? What's wrong with you? There was no man with a gun there. And you'd be crazy to be walking around with it. There were hundreds of sheriffs all around there. I saw. I don't know if he told me there, but he supposedly. But the fact of the matter, and the sheriffs used Lopez saying, we were told a man with a gun. But the fact is that the sheriffs were told by headquarters, go to the Silver Dollar, man with a gun. Already, before Lopez had a chance to call, they already were coming to the Silver Dollar for some reason, somewhere. The message was out, go to the Silver Dollar, the man with a gun, Ruben Salazar, and just entered the bar. I believe it was a setup. You know, maybe I'm just, in any case, that's for Ruben and Guillermo. This is Guillermo's glasses. beer that was never drank. That's deputy's photograph. That's the seat. That's the bar. Now, these are the shells that hit Ruben. These shells, half of the shell is 5 inches. They're actually 9 inches long. The width about close to 2 inches wide. This thing hits it, and to boot, on the back side, there are fins that come out. Remember, this is a projectile supposed to go over a distance. It's like a
Rocket.
A rocket really is. The shell comes out, the fins come out, and it stabilizes the trajectory, and you get to your target. Not true. What happened with Ruben, if you examine the pictures of the autopsy, Ruben doesn't have a wound. By the way, he wasn't hit here. A lot of people think he was hit. Ruben was hit right around in here. But it wasn't a round one. It was a triangle. He has a big triangle there and another triangle here. And then, for some reason, 2 more little triangles. Nobody explains where these triangles, these wounds are coming. Why are they in a triangular fashion? These are the stabilizing fins of the projectile. They shoot out, they hit the head, they make it, and no, it's not true. Why? Because I was wondering. It does have fins, and the fins will deploy, but they deploy after 5 seconds in flight. Ruben's body, his head, if he was shot, would have been shot with a nanosecond after he comes out. I mean, the man is right here. I mean, we didn't have time for nothing. Why this extraordinary configuration of the wounds? Everybody I've talked to said, we can't figure it out. He said, apparently they're claiming this is the wounds made by the fins of them. I don't think so. Yes, sir.
I have some firearms expertise, and I can explain why there would
Okay.
be an odd-shaped entry or exit wound in his head. When you fire a bullet through some kind of substance, it could be a piece of paper, it could be glass for an automobile, it could be the curtain that covered the front of the bar. It causes the bullet to tumble. So instead of a bullet, you think a bullet's traveling so fast it just goes right through something like a laser, but it doesn't. As soon as it hits something, a piece of paper can cause a bullet to do this. It starts to flip and tumble. So instead of the bullet hitting square and causing a clean hole, if it hits sideways, it'll create a wound that's not symmetrical.
Except that in the autopsy report, they report a circumference. The tunnel is pretty clear. It's a very weird wound, and it's kind of interesting to examine. Besides, where are all these little triangle shots? I mean, Schubert was shot with one that kills him, then there are 2 or 3 others. And then, by the way, there's another one they find on top of his head. Buckshot. Ruben wasn't, I asked his family, was Ruben ever shot with a buck? And they describe it as old shotgun on the head. I said, did any of you ever shoot Ruben, or what's going on here? I said, we don't know. He said, we don't know what the hell that is. And those are the things that I have always had. This is not Ruben's body. Something is going on, but it's kind of crazy. But let me get to it, and then I'll finish up. Inside the $7 large oversized bar spanned the entire length of the cafe, where customers would sit. That's the gun. That's the gun that shot Ruben. That's the scene that we saw, but now from the inside, the doorway would be over here. That's where Ruben was sitting. The doorway is right next to it.
How come the chairs are up? Didn't they fall, or did they replace them?
What are you talking about?
The chairs.